Hello fashion lovers, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I'll be taking you guys step by step on how I got this turtleneck and this kind of neckline. I don't know if it's V neckline or kind of sweetheart neckline, and then it's also a hidden button. Okay, so let's just get into the tutorial mainly. Okay guys, so right here you can see that I have my shoulder line, I have my chest line, and as well I have my waist measurement. That's my waistline, that's the half length. Okay, and after the that waistline I now have a line that I call the hip, which I went down from the waistline with 7 inches and then my full length. Okay, on that hip line I'm going to measure her hip measurement there. So this is actually the front that I'm drafting now. So at that place now I have like 2.5 inches. Okay, so right now from that 2.5 inches out, anything I'm doing it from that 2.5 inches. I'm going to get my shoulder. Please mind you that you're going to draw out 2.5 inches. That 2.5 inches is going to be for your for that button. All right, I'm going to get my shoulder and then I go down with 1 inches for the shoulder slope. And you guys remember I normally put half inches for my sewing allowance on the shoulder. Alright, so your shoulder allowance, your shoulder divided by 2 plus the half inches, and then you go down with 1 inches, and then I have to find my neckline to connect it to the shoulder. I believe you already know these areas, so I'm going to connect that one, that's my shoulder, the main shoulder, to the one I have at the chest line. That same measurement of the shoulder that I got at my shoulder, I'm going to get it on my chest. Okay, and then you go ahead and connect the both of them together, that's making it a straight line. Please, then on your neckline you're going to go down with your preferred measurement. All right, but mine, the horizontal line is 7 inches while the vertical line is 4 inches. So I'm going to now give it a little slant. It's going to be like a little slant, almost like sweetheart. All right, and then on the neck region at the top is 3 inches while the one at the down is 4 inches. All right, so it won't be that curvy. Okay, but it's also will not be straight. All right, so you can still go down more if you want to, or go up, but please don't take it more down because your chest will now be too open and it will be too wide, which will not be good. So you're going to now curve it as if you're doing a princess, a sweetheart neck. All right, so after the neck you're going to now, so you just go ahead and find your basic body measurements. Remember, anything you're doing from that your from that 2.5 inches line that you have. Okay, anything you're doing it from that line outwards. All right, so your body measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches. All right, so I'm finding my bust measurement now, divided by 4 plus 2 inches. Same with my waist, divided by 4 plus 2 inches. And then also on this hip line now I'm going to add my hip measurement on that hip line. Okay, divided by 4 also plus 2 inches. All right, so after everything you're now going to go ahead and connect your lines together. Okay, I actually made a mistake. If you look at what I did, I went ahead and connected the waistline to the main body measurement. It should be on the hip, on the allowance measurement. That is where I'm meant to draw this line, but I made a mistake, so I'm going to go ahead and correct it. All right, so please don't also make the same mistake with me. That was a mistake which I'll still correct it later. I noticed it and then I had to correct it later. Then back on my armhole line, I went in with 1/2 inch on the midpoint of my armhole from the beginning to the chest line. I went in with 1/2 inch. Then I have to connect the 3 lines from that 1/2 inches that I added for the allowance, then to the 1/2 inches that I went in with, and then to my bust measurement line. I have to connect the three of them together. Then I'm just trying to identify the lines so that it will be more clearer. All right, so there is nothing much here. I'm going to now go ahead and start cutting. So guys, right here, this is my front as I said before, but I'm going to use it and find my back as well. So you can see that I have to fold that 2.5 inches inside. Okay, I have to fold it inside. So now the next thing I will be doing is to find the neckline for the back. All right, which is going to be 1 inches down plus that same 3 inches. On that same 3 inches, I'm just going to find 1 inches down. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it out and then also cut my fabric out. All right, the fabric is on fold. You can see it here, it's on fold. All right, so right now for the front, I'm going to leave that thing I'm folding, that 2.5 inches. I'm going to leave it like that and then cut out the neckline. All right, then after cutting out the neckline like that, having the 2.5 inches on fold, I'm going to open it up and then cut on the fabric. Okay, so when like this now, I'm going to open it up like this now and also cut on the fabric. The fabric is going to be open like this, but please, that 2.5 inches should be on one side of the fabric. You get the other side of the fabric is where you are going to put your button. It's not going to need the 2.5 inches. The 2.5 inches should be on one side of the fabric because I'm later going to fold one of mine. Okay, so because I'm using lining for this material, it's actually transparent a bit, so I have to use lining on it. That's why I made my own 2.5 inches. If you're not using lining, please do yours 3 inches. All right, so right now this is my front. I'm going to turn it over with lining. Remember, I said that this 2.5 inches is going to be on one side of the fabric of the front pattern. Okay, it's not going to be on the both side. This is actually my first time doing this, so I did not know, but while sewing the clothes, I now realized that it was meant to be just on one side. Okay, so right now I'm going to sew on the necklines. All right, I'm going to sew on the necklines and then top stitch on the lining and also turn over. So guys, having top stitched on the neckline, I'm going to now go ahead and reduce the side of the front. This front now, I have to reduce the sides. I went up with 3 inches on the sides. I'm also going to do the same thing on the sides of the other side. Okay, the other side, I'm going to do the same thing on that same thing. All right, I just need to reduce it a bit. So right here now, you also go ahead and reduce your lining. Your lining should be 1/2 inches shorter. All right, 1/2 inches shorter. I've gone ahead to reduce all of them. I'm going to now turn like stitch on it and then stop stitch over to the lining. All right, that's what I will do, and then before I will now stitch on every other body part. Okay, I'll now go ahead and start stitching on every other body part. And then after stitching on the armhole, please remember to cut it small like this as I did, so that it will relax when you turn it over. All right, same thing with that curvy area on your shape, on your waistline. Okay, you can also go ahead and now cut it out a bit. So if you remember, I told you guys that 2.5 inches should be on one side of the front pattern. Okay, this is it. It was when I was sewing it that I remembered that I need to remove the 2.5 inches on the other side, but later on I removed just 1.5 inches. I left 1 inches for the button. Okay, the button is going to be on that side that is just 1 inches. That side that I removed these 2.5 inches, I later left 1 inches and then removed 1.5. You understand? While the other side is still remaining, the other 2.5 inches is still remaining on the other side. Okay, so I'll just leave 1 inches here for my button, because I'm going to add button to it. So I'll leave the 1 inches for one button and then remove the other 1.5 inches. All right, I hope you guys understand this, but if there is any question, you can just drop it at the comment section. Okay, so again, this one now with the 2.5 inches is going to be on top. That's where your buttonhole is going to be on. Why this one that does not have that 2.5 inches is where your button will be on. All right, so on the norms, female button is usually on the right hand side, while their buttonhole is on the left hand side. Okay, so I'm going to now, from my arm, from the shoulder point, I'm going to turn it over. Okay, from that shoulder, from your shoulder, the opening at your shoulder, you're now from there going to open it over, turn it over. So please, with this now, when you're done turning over, you should go ahead and iron it out. All right, please do iron it out so that everything can just relax. But if you don't have light now, you can just iron later. Okay, so after ironing, this is what I have on my, this is what I have to fold this is the 1 inches I told you guys that I'll extend for the button. I have to just fold it and then fold it inside, and then this is the 2 inches. Okay, that 2 inches, when you fold on that 2 inches like this, I'm going to explain this now. When you fold on the 2 inches right here, now I have 2 inches. When you fold on it, then you also have to go and fold again. So on this line, that middle line now that you're seeing is where I'm going to stitch on. I'm going to stitch on that middle line and then cover it up and also stitch at the back. You remember, first of all, stitch on the middle line that is inside and then cover it up like this and also stitch on it again. Please make it fine when you're stitching it. Like when you're stitching it, you should just be careful so that stitches will not be bad. Okay, so you don't end up having a bad stitch on, having so much lines and it doesn't look fine. And this is the front of the clothes. Okay, so right here I'm done stitching on it. On that place you're looking at, that line. Now I have to run it twice as supposed. So on this place now I also have to stitch on top of this place so that it will not be opening. Okay, so this is how it's going to be when you place it on your fabric. This is just how it's going to be when you place it on your fabric. I hope you guys do understand this, but if there is any question at all, don't forget to leave it at the comment section. When you fold that your 2.5 inches, you stitch on in the middle line. When you fold it, you stitch in the middle line and then you cover it up again and then top stitch on the both lines again so that it will hold the two of them together. That's just exactly what I did. So I hope you guys understand it. So moving forward to the back now. So please, if you've watched to this point, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and also press the like button and turn on your notification bell so you'll be notified when next we upload the video. Thank you. So moving forward now, you're going to turn this over with your lining. All right, so I've already gone ahead to turn the down of my back, to top stitch it, to turn it over with the lining and also top stitch to the lining side. I'm going to now turn it over like to add my shoulder. You guys know how we do the shoulder here. You're going to turn it into the back, is entering to the back. Okay, but if you seem not to understand what I'm saying about turning your shoulder to enter to the back, you can just watch one of my videos on how to make a corporate gown. I believe I explained it very well on that video. All right, so you can just go ahead and watch it. I'm going to place it at the end of the video, at the end of this tutorial. So you're going to turn it over now. Please remember to give 1/2 inch space when placing your front pattern to the back. When you want to turn it, okay, don't start at the edge. Okay, before we used to start at the edge, but please don't start at the edge. If you look at mine now, I did not start at the edge. Okay, I have to give a space of 1/2 inches for the neckline that I will be attaching there. All right, so the next on board now is to add my sleeve. Okay, I think I did not record my sleeve when I was cutting it, but if you know how to cut your sleeve, you can just go ahead and cut your sleeve. Then the midpoint of your sleeve is here. You're going to add to the midpoint, to the joint, to that shoulder joining. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and find my body measurement divided by 2. Okay, and then right here I have this thing, this piece of cloth, for I have 5 inches here. When you turn it over, it's going to be 2.5 on both sides. So, and the length of it is the length of my neck. I measured the lady's neck, and her neck is 17 inches. So 17 inches, I have to add 1 inch, making it 18, because I'm going to sew on the both sides. That's half inches on the both sides. All right, so I'm taking in half inches on the both sides, which is now going to make it that same 17. So right here, and now I'm done sewing on the both sides of it. Okay, I'll have to fold it and then identify the midpoint of the neck. Okay, same thing I did here. I'm going to find the midpoint of the round neck of the back on the main fabric. Okay, and then I'll join the 2 neck midpoints together, the midpoint of the fabric and the midpoint of the one of that piece of fabric that I'm holding. I'm going to sew from the back first. From the first, you're going to place it at the back of the fabric. Okay, so you sew on the back first before you turn it over to the front. And please, I just hope you guys are seeing what I'm doing here. I'm going to sew on these edges first. After sewing on it, then I'll go ahead and cover it up at the front side. Okay, this is it. I hope you understand. So for this now, why doing this now, I am going to also start from the edge. I'm going to use my pin to hold this area, but then while sewing it, I'm going to start from here. I'm going to fold the both of them inside, and then I'll stitch straight up from there. I'll join to the neckline at that side, and then to the middle, and then to the other side of the neck. Okay, I hope you guys understand. So with this now, this is the end of this video. I hope you guys do understand this tutorial. I hope you guys do understand this tutorial. I'm going to go ahead and now iron it. Okay, so if you look closely, you're going to find out that I have to put hook and eye on mine, so you can go ahead and put hook and eye on yours. All right, so this is what we have. The final look. This is what we have. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and see you in my next video. Bye.